Today I'm going to be talking about why Spirited Away means so much to me. And you might be able to see behind me, I've actually got a pretty cool Spirited Away poster on the wall. It's a French poster from France, obviously. My ex-girlfriend went to Cannes, I believe, with her dad and came back with that for me, which is genuinely one of the best presents I've ever been given in my life. I absolutely love that. I cherish it so much. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about Spirited Away, Studio Ghibli or Studio Ghibli, however you say it. Their masterpiece, Hayao Miyazaki's masterpiece, one of the most beautiful films to exist in cinema history, Spirited Away. So to start the story off, I'm going to take this right back to when I was about 7 years old. I used to go to Blockbuster every week, more specifically every Friday with my granddad Joe, who I lived with at the time. I lived with my granddad for a lot of my childhood, and yeah, we used to go every Friday, and he would pick a movie, I would pick a movie. Usually his movies were more like obscure films, so it could be like something, some German horror movie or Japanese animation or like a French movie or just anything. Like, he used to read the Guardian newspaper, and then whatever movies had like good reviews, he would note it down and go and pick them up. So I would watch all those movies with him. The movies I'd pick, which he would help me pick, would be more mainstream stuff, stuff he knew I'd like E.T. or Close Encounters or, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a Star Wars movie or just something fun, Spider-Man, whatever. And that was like a really fun time in my life, and I used to look forward to those Friday nights every single week. And one week it was Spirited Away, so we got back, and I vividly remember this. I remember him putting it on. Looking back, I'm sure he knew that I would enjoy it to some extent, because I watched so many obscure, foreign films from the Eastern world and everything with him and really enjoyed it. So he knew I was just happy to watch films, like still the same as I am now. But I don't think he knew like how much this film would end up meaning to me and how much I do really love it. But yeah, as I said, I vividly remember sitting down and watching it, and I'll never forget how just mind blown I was by the animation and how gorgeous it was. Obviously I'd grown up with mix of 3D and 2D animation, but I'd truly never seen anything that made me feel, even at that age, the way Spirited Away made me feel. I'll never forget that opening scene and when they're driving and just how beautiful and lush the trees look and the sky, and the music is just incredible. And I remember just being like, this is honestly incredible. Like, this, even at that age I couldn't articulate it, but I'm like, this is like art, this is real art. And as the story progressed, I was really interested what was going on, and as she traverses more into the spiritual world, like I was like, this, because at the time, even now, I love those sort of stories. I'm forgetting what they're called. It's like Pandora's box story or something. It's basically where like Alice in Wonderland vibes, basically, where like a character is an ordinary person and they go into an extraordinary world. And I'd always loved those kind of stories, and seeing it in that kind of in a Japanese art form, and it was the Japanese version as well with English subtitles, so it was a very different experience than anything I'd seen before. And I remember just being like so intrigued and so like and leaning into this movie and being like, oh my god, what is this? And then he was explaining that it's all hand drawn and it's a very meticulous, long time consuming process. And I remember sitting there, because I drew at the time, I used to draw a lot, and I remember sitting there like, oh my god, like it was really clicking to me what I was seeing and like how amazing it was. I only remember watching it up to the part where they're in the bathhouse and there's the giant like black like slug kind of monster or whatever. As a kid, that was the most terrifying thing in the world to me, and I'm assuming he might have turned it off or paused it, or maybe I left the room, because that's all I remember watching up to that point. And I remember being really scared of that part of the film. And me and my granddad's relationship continued to build. He was an incredible person in every metric. Like, I'm not going to deviate too much in this video and talk about my granddad too much, because people might not be interested, but he was like an incredible father figure in my life, an amazing person, such a classy, cool, kind, creative person. He played like saxophone and was in a jazz band, and he taught me how to play chess. Like, I've got the chess, the rook piece there on my arm because of him. And like, yeah, he was just an incredible person. He was so patient, and he was like the best sort of, I mean, he was my granddad, but he was kind of like the best dad you could ever want. He was amazing. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer not too long after that, to be honest. And our weekly Blockbuster trip started to dwindle and not happen as much naturally, because he was on chemotherapy and like really struggling and stuff. He suffered with cancer for almost 10 years, and he was such a strong person. And you know, unfortunately he did pass away in 2018. And I remember after he died, I was really wanting to reconnect with him through things that he loved. So one of the first things that I did is that, you know, my uncle, his brother, gave us like all of his CDs. And I remember like, I didn't want to take all the CDs, obviously, so I took photos of them all, and I sat and listened to all these different like jazz artists and just artists I'd never heard of, and really like felt like I was connecting with him through that. And the next thing was with movies. So I had a list of movies that I knew he loved, DVDs that he'd left and things like that, and I watched all of them and really felt close to him. And then I don't know exactly when it was. I'm guessing it was around that time. One day I was just struck with the visual of that film, and of the in the bathhouse and the Japanese art style. I was like, what is that film? And obviously very quickly found out through doing research that it was Spirited Away. And that was like a very emotional experience watching it for the first time again, because it was like I was reliving my childhood, and like I felt how I felt back then. And the only difference this time is that my granddad's not sat next to me, and I know that's, you know, soppy or whatever, but it's the reality of it. And, you know, I really felt close to him again through watching it. And obviously this time I got past the bathhouse scene, and honestly since then I've seen Spirited Away countless times. One of my favorite experiences watching it actually was back in 2020 when I lived in London for a little bit. I saw it at South Bank at the BFI, British Film Institute. And yeah, that was absolutely incredible. But yeah, I've seen it so many times, and I'll always feel incredibly grateful to have had that memory as a kid with my granddad. And every time I watch it, you know, the more I watch it, it's easier to watch it, and it's not like as an emotional experience as what it was when I first watched it, obviously. But I feel closer to my granddad because of that film, and I have a deeper love for Japanese animation and cinema because of that film, and I'll always love it. It's always going to be like one of my favorite films of all time. It really is. It's an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, now I've got all the sentimental stuff out the way about my granddad. I have to talk about a few other things. Like, as I said, visually the movie's beautiful. The art style, you know, Studio Ghibli, you expect nothing less than just masterful, absolutely visually stunning art. It's every frame is a painting, literally. But another thing that's really important to talk about is the music. Like, the soundtrack to Spirited Away is so incredibly beautiful. I listen to that on Spotify to this day so much. I really, really love it. And yeah, I'll always just, it makes me just feel, I can't even explain how I feel when I hear the opening to Spirited Away, like that score with the piano. Like, it's just, oh my god, it's incredibly beautiful. And yeah, like that. And also, like, another thing that's really important to talk about, like, obviously the narrative, the story is just perfection, but the voice acting, like, you know, whether it's the English dub or the original Japanese, like, they're both incredible. And that's a testament to Studio Ghibli again. You know, they're Ghibli, you know, their voice acting talent is always top tier every time, whether it's the English dub or the original Japanese voiceover. So yeah, like, there's so much more I could talk about with this movie, but I'm going to be honest, the most important part of it, and the reason it is so meaningful, the reason Spirited Away means so much to me, is because of that connection to it with my granddad. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I unfortunately missed the stage show in London, which I would have loved to have seen. I'm hoping that it comes back at some point so I can do that. But I am actually going to Japan in November, and obviously there's the Studio Ghibli Museum and the Studio Ghibli Park as well. So I'm hoping I can do some videos when I'm there and, you know, show you guys what that's like. I mean, you've probably seen it anyway, but, you know, my personal experience of being there. So that'd be super cool. And I'm just really excited for Japan, because that's another reason I think I'll feel connected to my granddad again, because he loved Japanese cinema, he loved Japanese animation. Like, he really introduced me to that. I mean, God, when was that? 2003, 2004? Like, that was a long time before it was popular or mainstream to like that kind of stuff. And my granddad, you know, found it incredibly beautiful, and I'm grateful that he did, because he introduced me to it at such a young age. So anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do enjoy doing these sit down talking videos because it gives me an opportunity to just talk about things that I love to talk about, things that are meaningful to me. And yeah, I mean, some people might find it boring because I'm just sat here yapping, but I really do enjoy it. And I've got a lot more ideas for videos I'm going to do. I'm going to do a lot more personal ones. And yeah, you'll probably see me out in nature in some videos talking. Some of them when I'm sat here talking about movies or sat on my desk talking about games. That's what I'm excited to do. I'm excited to talk to you guys more about things, and yeah, hopefully people enjoy it. So anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.